Today we're doing a sort of a lightning tour through world history starting around 1500.
Hitting the highlights.
Yeah, the goal is really to give you a kind of framework, a shortcut maybe, for understanding the world we're in now.
Makes sense.
And there's this core idea we keep circling back to, that every big step forward, what we call progress, it seems like it's almost always built on, well, some pretty intense exploitation and chaos.
Right, the hidden costs. Always the hidden costs.
Exactly, we're tracking those.
And that 1500 marker, it's important because it's not a true beginning. It's more like a critical crossroads.
Right.
Yeah, these huge old powers, especially the Mongol Empire, really starting to decline. Global power vacuum, yeah. And new states were just beginning to step into that space.
Okay, so that sets the stage. Let's talk about the catalyst then. We often hear about the age of exploration, like it was just inevitable Europeans setting sail.
Yeah, but it wasn't quite like that. It's more reactive. Well, think about that power vacuum. As the Mongols faded, you get the rise of the Ottoman Empire, this really powerful Islamic state.
Okay.
And the crucial bit is 1453, they conquer Constantinople. This basically gives them control over the main overland spice routes to Asia.
Ah, the really profitable one.
Extremely profitable. So suddenly Europeans couldn't easily access those routes, or it became much more expensive.
So exploration wasn't just curiosity.
No, it was driven by economic necessity. They needed a new way to get to Asia, an end run around Ottoman control. Plus, you had intense competition between these European states pushing them forward.
Right, trying to outdo each other. So this search for a detour kicks off the next couple of centuries after 1500. And this brings us to the Columbian Exchange.
Yeah, and that term exchange, it sounds so, well, neutral. Benign even.
But the reality was
brutally lopsided. You have European diseases like smallpox and influenza just racing through the Americas.
Wiping out huge numbers of indigenous people who had no immunity.
Exactly. Devastating. And on top of that, you have systems of exploitation, like the Spanish encomienda system.
Which was basically forced labor.
Forced labor and tribute,
Yeah.
Granted to settlers.
Yeah.
This caused further massive population decline.
And this destruction, this upheaval, leads to new cultural formations.
It does, because into this void, you have the forced migration of millions of enslaved Africans. This horrific process creates new Creole cultures, complex mixes of African, indigenous, and European traditions forged under, terrible pressure.
It's quite a contrast because while all this is happening in the Americas, other major powers seem to be looking inward.
That's true. Different reactions globally. Russia was expanding, yes, but mostly east into Siberia, looking for resources like furs.
Okay.
But in Asia, Ming and then King China adopted a kind of soft isolationism. They restricted trade and contact quite heavily.
Trying to manage things internally.
Pretty much. And then Japan, under the Tokugawa shogunate, went even further. They implemented Sakoku, a policy of deliberate, almost total isolation.
Really shutting the door. Why?
Primarily to maintain stability and protect their culture from outside influence, especially after issues with Christian missionaries. They stayed closed off until the mid-19th century.
Okay, fast forward a bit. The wealth and knowledge from this era then feed into the 1700s and 1800s, the age of revolutions, inspired by Enlightenment ideas, right? Locke, Rousseau.
Natural rights, consent of the governed, all very powerful ideas.
But full of contradictions in practice. The American Revolution talks about rights, but keeps slavery firmly in place.
A massive contradiction.
And the French Revolution, aiming for liberty, equality, fraternity, descends into the reign of terror.
Yeah, the ideals clashed hard with reality. And perhaps the most telling example is Haiti.
The Haitian Revolution.
It's the only revolution of that era that actually tried to apply those liberty ideals to everyone, abolishing slavery completely.
But it paid a heavy price.
A terrible price. International ostracism, especially from slaveholding powers like the U.S. and France, and crippling indemnity payments demanded by France. It shows how the global system, even when talking about enlightenment, punished true universal liberty.
That hypocrisy, that structural issue, seems to connect right into industrialization. New technologies, factories, the rise of the urban working class, the proletariat that Marx wrote about.
Absolutely. Industrialization changed everything. Production, society.
And it gave European powers the tools for another wave of global domination, didn't it? The second wave of imperialism.
Precisely. This wasn't just about trade posts anymore, like the earlier phase. The new industrial capacity, the technologies like steamships, telegraphs, advanced weaponry.
It gave them a massive advantage.
A considerable advantage, as historians put it. It provided the logistical means to conquer and directly control vast territories across Africa and Asia, while philosophies like the civilizing mission provided a sort of justification.
The industrial power provided the how.
Exactly, the means to actually do it on an unprecedented scale.
So wrapping this whirlwind tour up, what's the main thing you should take away from this? I guess it's that history isn't this neat linear path to better.
Not at all. Progress, if we can even call it that sometimes, is so often deeply intertwined with violence, with exploitation. They're two sides of the same coin in many ways.
Yeah.
And, think about 1991, the Soviet Union collapses. People were talking about the end of history.
Right. The idea that liberal democracy had won.
But looking through this 500-year lens, you see these deeper forces are still very much at play. Nationalism, ideology, the sheer difficulty of managing progress without causing harm somewhere else.
It never really ended.
Consider China today.
Yeah.
Pursuing massive economic liberalization, integrating into the global economy, yet firmly maintaining its one-party political system. It's a fascinating example of these long-term tensions. So the question for you is, looking around now, what threads from the last 500 years do you see actively shaping the geopolitical challenges we face today?